HDDA, and if you are on my channel more often, you likely play games like Dyson Sphere Program or Satisfactory. However, I think there might be a very good chance you'll also like 4X games like Oddworld. If you are already someone who likes both these types of games, make sure you let us know in the comments because I'm actually really curious how many of you there are out there. If you're not one of us already, and that is someone who plays both Factory or City Builder games as well as 4X games, well, keep watching. In 4X games, you guide a nation to greatness through exploring the world, expanding your empire, exploiting your resources, and exterminating your enemies. 4 things that start with X, hence the name 4X games. Now, while it's not obvious at first glance, I think there's a very large overlap between Factory games and City Builders, as well as 4X games. So if you like one of those types and approach them from a certain angle, there is a very good chance you might also like the other categories. For me, a large part of the fun of Dyson Sphere and Satisfactory is starting out with nothing, and then slowly shaping the world to your own liking. And doing so not just by randomly putting down factories, but by carefully planning out what you build where. It's very enjoyable to see all those elements coming together in an elegant puzzle, not unlike some complicated clockwork, especially after dozens and dozens of hours of gameplay. I've recently started a series on Oddworld, which in my opinion is one of the best 4X games out there at the moment. There, you also start out with almost nothing, 1 unit in a world with nothing else to show for yourself just yet. Slowly but surely you start expanding your empire while carefully planning your next steps. You don't just plan for the short term, but you also need to take into account how your steps now are going to be interacting with the steps you take in the future. Similar to games like Factorio and soon Dyson Sphere Program as well, you are not alone in the world either, so you cannot just do whatever you want, but you need to factor in how the world around you will react to what you are doing. Both game types can be played just randomly progressing into a direction that you feel like at the time and just relax, assuming of course you have the difficulty set low enough. But I think these games really start to shine when you try to optimize your approach to achieve certain goals. In Factory games, those goals are often self-imposed. Maybe you are trying to build along with the environment, or a very good-looking modular building, or basically whatever you feel like is a nice challenge. In 4X games, you also have a lot of room for how you want to achieve the goals of the game. The exterminate part of 4X implies you should always destroy your enemies, but honestly, most of these games can very well be won as a pacifist. Maybe you go for political victory, or you have an economic powerhouse, or you're just the smartest guy or girl around and you go for a research victory or something like that. There is a lot of ways to approach these games, and that's half the fun of trying to kind of pivot along the way to see what fits your playstyle the best. Oddworld specifically does a very good job of easing you into what can be a very complex game by introducing mechanics step by step and layering story elements on top of those, that basically simply turn in what could be a spreadsheet into something you can actually relate to. However, just like I did with Dyson Sphere Program, I probably started over at least a dozen times after just a few hours of gameplay, simply because I kept learning new things and wanted to try them out in a fresh game from the start. So there's a lot of room to basically iterate on what you're doing and try to optimize the hell out of that. And, well, given the reason I started this channel, it shouldn't be weird I consider that a very fun thing in every game that I play. So maybe the same applies to you. I do hope I might have been able to convince you to try out a 4X game based on this. I just started a series on Oddworld, so you're very welcome to jump in and play along with me, or at least see if that's a game that you like. But even though Oddworld is an excellent starting point, games like Civilization, Humankind, or even sci-fi games like Stellaris are awesome options that I can honestly recommend from my own experience. Yes, I have played all of these games for many hours, and they are all good in their own right. So let me know in the comments, am I insane for comparing these two types of games? Or, well, let me just know what you think. If you're still here, you're awesome, and I hope to catch you in the next one.